For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of top fuel funny car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Vegas, baby, Vegas. That's right. WFO Radio is back as we get ready for Vegas, the Nevada NHRA Nationals at the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, the SEMA weekend, Halloween weekend. It's going to be mega. We're all going to be out there, and hopefully you will too. The penultimate race. It's the time each year that I get to use the word penultimate. Like I never get to use that. And I get to use it, I'm going to use it a lot. Right? The second to last as we get ready for the In-N-Out Burger Finals at In-N-Out Drag Strip in a couple of weeks. But we got Vegas, Pomona championships are being decided on this show. We got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who's got all kinds of great good news to share. He's going to share some good news with us. Reinhart is going to be joining us just moments from now. And we are scheduled to have a special guest. Hopefully that will work out because there's testing ongoing. Jeg Coughlin Jr., the 5-time Pro Stock World Champion. He's got 84 career wins. He's coming back for Vegas and Pomona. Super excited. Going to be part of Elite Motorsports, brand new RJ car. He's going to be shaking it down. But we're talking about the natural. This guy could get out there and go out there and win a race. You win 2 races, right? Anything can happen as the championships are taking shape. Pro stock motorcycle, top fuel, funny car. Who will win it all? We're going to talk about it on this show. And of course, your comments are appreciated. Put them up there in the chat section. And if you have questions, you can put them up there as well. But the thing that I ask humbly is to share the show, because that's how we grow. It's as simple as that. Share the show. And if you like what you're hearing, talking about NHRA drag racing, deep dives, like earlier today, we put out a new Hear It from Heiner episode for you Pro Stock fans that are also Patreons. That'll be dropping at 3 o'clock. Got all kinds of good stuff going on. But before we bring on Reinhart, let me shout out to the people who make it possible. Starting off with Foggit. On our Ignition show, which happened last night, the Patreon co-hosts are we're having fun talking about Foggit. Like, what is the next iteration, the natural evolution of Foggit, right? Well, originally it's a can of fogging oil to protect the inside of your racing engine. But like, what's the next version? Super Foggit, right? Which was a little bit of a play on word. Or maybe there's going to be fog pods available to drop down the carburetor. It's all a joke in the long run. You just spray down the carburetor, spray it into the spark plug holes, and protect the inside of your engine. Go to foggit.com to find out more information. Also, the great folks at Bernie's. This is Josh Hart's company up there in Ocala, Florida, on board with WFO Radio. They're buying, they're selling. They've got a 100,000 square foot showroom. They do frame-off restorations, top to bottom. They do movie props, a lot of great stuff. And they sell e-bikes, which means an electric bike, for those that don't know. Like, what's an e-bike? Is that like a mail? Like, what is it? Bernies.com. Go to their website, follow their social media, a big partner of WFO Radio. I mentioned Total Seal piston rings a little bit earlier. We got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower that we're going to be recording later today. If you haven't heard the previous with Shane Tecklenburg, you need to, especially if you're interested in electronic fuel injection. This guy has tuned at Pikes Peak. He's tuned on the Salt Flats. He's tuned on the drag strip. He's doing a lot of tuning. And if you ever had a question about electronic fuel injection, I bet you it was answered on that episode. But in the end, it all comes down to ring seal. You can't do anything if you don't have consistent and reliable ring seal. That's where the horsepower comes from, the hidden horsepower. So go to TotalSeal.com, make them your first call, not your last call, and reveal to yourself all the new technology. If you got an engine builder stuck in his old ways, put them on to the hidden horsepower Podcast. Phillips-Connect.com, talking about smart trailer technology. These guys get mentioned at the start of every WFO radio because there are so many people out and over the roads that could take advantage of a little prevention. Are our brake lights out? Or do we have air to our air braking system? All the different sensors that were invented by Jim Epler, Mr. 300, that are now employed on trucks and trailers going across the country every day, keeping loads and things on time, keeping track of them, and keeping people safe out there on the highways and byways. When your trucks are on the side of the road, they're not making money. If you'd like a personalized introduction, just email me, joe@wforadio.com, Phillips-Connect.com. You heard a little bit about the folks at FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters at the start of the show. I definitely want to echo that. These guys, whether it's .90 or big power like Pro Modified, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, they make transmissions and torque converters that are absolutely top-notch. You don't have to go very far. Just check out the Winner's Circle. And there you go. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and I'll tell you about samtech.edu, our great sponsors here on the show. But now let's bring on the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who's got something to share. Really, we don't even need Reinhart.
It's a new car.
It's a new car.
I feel like I'm on Price is Right. It's a new car.
Where are you, first of all? What is this? Where are you?
I'm in my shop.
This is just a different angle? You've created a new angle.
Yeah, because I wanted to have a new car in the background.
Where we last left off with this machine, you were driving down the road and you hadn't, checked your tires in years. They were just kind of older tires. They looked great, but they were old. We learned the lesson that tires must be replaced regardless. You tore the fender off of it, and now it's back. How long did this whole process take? A year?
Well, tomorrow will be 2 years since the tire came apart. And I had taken the thing out to kind of a little impromptu car show that they were having out of Tucson Dragway. It was a high school career day. There's a teacher here in Southern Arizona that does a statewide competition, technician competition for high school students that are in the automotive programs. And it was going on that day, and they asked me if I'd come out and talk to the students and do the stuff. And just dumb luck, I rode my motorcycle out there. And they said, you need to go get your car, because they had kind of a little impromptu car show going on. And there was, 40 or 50, pretty cool little hot rods out there. And I thought, I haven't had it out in a while. It was clean. So I thought that'd be a good excuse to take it out. So I drove the thing out there.
Oh, look,
I was picked for a Student Choice Award. Thank you very much.
Wow. It's all tying together now.
And then on the way home, coming down the freeway, the left front tire came apart and did about $6,000 worth of damage. When I took it over to my painter, who just happens to be literally across the street from me, when he called me and said, come pick it up, I walked over to get it. But I had him come over and look at it. He said, well, and I said, look, we're going to be in it this deep. Why don't we just paint the whole thing? It's been 25 years since it's been painted. There was a couple of things about it that I wanted changed, and it had, a couple just little scratches and dings and 25 years worth of stuff. So he's took it in, and it actually sat here for a while before it went over there because he was kind of buried. And then I got it back this weekend, and it looks great, and it's great to have it home, and I'm pretty excited to have it back. I was worried about whether or not it was going to get along with the Barracuda, but so far they seem to be doing well, because when the Camaro was here, it did not like the Camaro at all.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. There's a bigger rivalry between Camaros and Mustangs. And, everybody's in the chat section. Like Billy says, you get 3 Mustangs in trade for the Cuda, right? Like, we got Cuda fans out there. But hey, congratulations. Like, that's a big deal, getting the car back from the body shop, and now you can enjoy it. And, you don't have to blame the kids, though, Alan. You don't have to blame those kids.
No, I'm not blaming them at all. The whole fault of the thing. Let me tell you something. If somebody told me I was riding around in my car on tires that were 13 years old and the tire came apart, I would tell them, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And the blame is pretty easy to find. But unlike everybody else, that car lives here at the shop. It's always inside. It's not out in the Arizona sun. It's not out in the weather. I don't drive it very much. The thing probably didn't. It's got 5,000 miles on it in the last 15 years. So, the tires look fine and but they were old. And I'd like to think that if I knew they were 13 years old, I would have replaced them. But I know now, and I can promise you that about 5 years, I don't care if it doesn't have 500 miles on it. But 5 years, it's getting new tires because the tire that I replaced was like $126, and like I said, $6,000 worth of damage. And the fault is right here.
But thank you, Alan. Thank you for going through what you've gone through. So hopefully none of us will have to go through that situation, and we will all monitor the age as well as the mileage on our tires. The UV rays, like I know with trailer tires, you got to cover them. You got to keep them off the concrete. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. I never really put much stock into that as well. I had a nightmare scenario a few years back going up to the racetrack that I learned my lesson. And you've learned a lesson that we are all going to hopefully learn from you. So you've done something.
I'm just grateful that I still have the car because I was on the freeway. I was going about 80 miles an hour when it happened, and it just about drugged me into the median. If it had done that, I could have potentially lost the whole car. So, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. And I was stupid. I take full responsibility for it, but I learned, and I promise you that is a mistake I will not make again. Yes,
exactly. And Derek says that now it's time to pull the engine, right? Like, let's go. What are we going to do?
But believe it or not, it kind of is. I'm going to talk to Matt Hartford this weekend. We had talked about last year pulling the engine out of this thing and just doing a ring experiment. He says, that the ring technology has come far enough since we built the engine in this that he believes I could pick up 25 to 30 horsepower just by changing the ring and changing the hone. And the engine is still pretty fresh from the time it was built, so it won't need anything else. And we had talked about it a little bit. I think it'll be a pretty good back-to-back comparison if we pull the thing out, put it on the dyno, and then just pull it apart, change the hone, change the ring, and put it right back on the dyno and see where we are. So if he's still up for that, then I probably will have the engine out of it this winter break.
Yeah, that was originally going to be the Project Pontiac situation. And then, we pulled the engine out and we did the dyno test and we were all excited. And then we found the cracks in the block, and then we were at a dead end road, and then we got a new block and a new crank. And now it's a totally different engine. But I like the experiment. I know Lake Speed will be into it. That's his whole game, right? Like figuring out how to make horsepower just by replacing a couple of parts.
Well, this thing's got an aluminum dart block in it, and if it's cracked, then that's going to be an issue because the car gets driven very rarely. It is a weekend car that I'll take out, to a cruise night or a car show or a display or something like that. I absolutely love the car. I bought it when I was in high school, and I don't drive it a lot, but I treat it pretty well. So if we can get another 25 or 30 horsepower out of it, why not?
This guy wants to know if it's a 289. No,
believe it or not. Originally, it was. It is a 1967 GT K code. The K code was the 271 horse 289. And according to Kevin Marty, who is the world authority on these things, they only made 77 of them. The original engine was long gone by the time I got the car, but I've never done anything to it that can't be undone. Right? I'm not going to cut it and put tubs in the back of it. If I ever wanted to put it all back original, I could. But it has a 428-inch aluminum dart small block in it.
With NASCAR heads.
Well, Pro 1 heads. It doesn't have NASCAR heads. It's got the Dart Pro 1 heads.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, it's good that it's back. And Craig says, Craig Gaultier, who runs Super Stock out there, I don't think you're stupid. I think it's just a crazy happening. Live and learn. And most of all, glad you didn't get hurt. That's a nice way of saying it. I agree with Craig. Stuff happens.
If somebody told me they were driving a car like this on 13-year-old tires, I would tell them they were stupid. And so I am stupid.
Okay. Jeff says the ring experiment worked for him. That's good stuff.
But I'm smarter than I used to be. So.
And that's the whole aging process. All right. So we're going to Vegas, right? We're going to Vegas. Yeah. But moments from now, he's at a test. They're testing in Tulsa. He's going to join us when he can. So it could be in 5 minutes as scheduled. It could be 10 minutes. We'll see exactly what happens. Maybe they get busy and he doesn't join us at all. But you mentioned it on the show last week, the entry list, and now it's a reality. The return of Jeg, the natural, Jeg Coughlin, who, for my money, is the kind of driver that could just show up one-off like this and be in contention to actually win the race. Like he's that good of a race car driver.
I agree. And, he's obviously going to have good equipment. So it's going to be, a drop in or a 2-race drop in. And I put it, the same level as, when TJ Zizzo shows up, when Kyle Wurzel shows up, that, that's almost a guaranteed qualifying spot that now somebody else isn't going to have. And it's somebody that could really wreak havoc on the countdown to the championship because don't care a lick about points. just going to be there trophy hunting, and he's going to have good enough equipment, and he's certainly got the ability to drive one of these things that he could certainly play a role in the championship.
Derek says, I didn't realize, this is kind of interesting, but not everybody is like a lifelong drag racing fan, right? Like some people were casual and more. I didn't realize he's a 5-time champion. Not surprised. Yeah, 6-time champion, because he won a Super Gas World Championship as well. He's the only driver to win from all 16 qualifying positions, which is amazing stat in of itself. But yes, Jeg is back. There are 23 pro stockers on the entry list for this weekend's race, Alan. Like, this is going to be a knife fight, if that's the most intense thing we can think of.
And whoever ends up being 17th is going to be throwing a rock at Jeg, because Jeg's taking a spot from somebody that would have otherwise been in the field. Jeg is also, if I'm not mistaken, the only guy in NHRA history that has won national events in 7 different eliminators. So, his resume just goes on and on and on and on and on. And, he's fortunate to be in a position that he's in as far as life and business goes, that he can pretty much do whatever he wants to do. And if he wants to come in and drop in from time to time, and, it ain't like he hasn't sat in a race car since he left. He's been doing some bracket racing. He's been doing some big dollar stuff, and he's still been out there, keeping his skills sharp. So I don't expect him to show up and look rusty at all. And especially since they're testing in Tulsa, it won't even take him 2 runs to get used to the shifting again.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Jeg. Now, the guy is one of the greatest of all time. And imagine if he consistently raced throughout, right? He's 51 years old, from what I gather. And he's been retired like 3 times, Alan. Like, he's had a bunch of retirements. Like, that's it, I'm retired, I'm going to go do something else. And then he gets tired.
He and Ricky and Garlitz, and,
he gets tired of being retired, and then he comes back. And in the press release, or the story that's up on NHRA.com, which I encourage everybody to go and read, because there's some good stuff there, of course, is that, Richard's trying to work him. He wants him back full time next year. Yeah, maybe he'll be back full time. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It would be. And, we'll wait and see, obviously, what happens. But, he's got the ability to do the job, and he's going to be in good equipment. And so, look out. Stranger things have happened than, Jeg Coughlin showing up and winning a race. It certainly wouldn't. I don't think anybody would faint. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, nobody's fainting. Like, so shocking. Dave out there says hi from Dubai. Dave Maron. What's up, Dave? And Ricky is out there. He's mowing the lawn. He's having a good time, of course. And Eddie is out there checking in as well. So let's dig in a little bit on Pro Stock. I just had my Patreon only show with Michael Heiner, and we talked a little bit about St. Louis and Dallas, and they won the Battle of the Saddle, but shook the tires first round. It said that, he still doesn't know exactly why, which is disturbing. But what he said is going to be cold this weekend, maybe colder than we were expecting. And that's going to make it tricky, dry and cold, and a little dust and a lot of wind. It's going to be a tricky track out there in Pro Stock.
It could be. Yeah, certainly. We'll have to wait and see what happens when we get there. You got to remember that Vegas is a little bit of an altitude track. So there's a reason that when we go to Vegas, we don't see the cars running in the 40s. We don't see, because there is a little bit of altitude at Vegas. So that just naturally slows the cars down. It looks like Mother Nature is going to give us back some of that horsepower this weekend. I just hope that it doesn't end up being, like blustery type of weekend that, is just miserable for the fans, because it's so much better when the fans are out there being comfortable. A little chilly I can deal with, but if it's really going to be windy and blustery, that's just going to be really hard on the fans.
Yes, exactly. No, we don't. I don't know what blustery is. What is that? Windy, gusty, dusty? What is that?
Yeah.
Blustery?
Well, gusty. Yeah. I don't know. It's a term out here when, dusty and windy, and we've seen around here, sometimes that includes a little pop-up shower now and then. But I just want it to be a good day. Cool. Everybody can deal with, right? Everybody's got a jacket. Just let's just not make it uncomfortable for the fans. Yeah,
lows in the 40s, highs in the 60s. But let's bring on our 6-time NHRA champion, one of the winningest drivers of all time, making his dramatic return to NHRA Pro Stock. Let's put him right in the middle, Mr. Jeg Coughlin Jr. What's up, Jeg? Welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be back with you guys. Alan, good to see you as well. Been listening to you guys the last couple of years, and taking in the action from NHRA TV and enjoying the show. So you guys are doing a hell of a job, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to to get back behind the wheel and make some runs in a pro stock car. I think Alan has very eloquently put it that maybe I'd never retire, that I may be back in the seat, and that's never been the intent either way, in all honesty, and not to be long-winded right off the bat, but it is exciting. I've missed the family, the NHRA family. I've missed the fan side of it. And most of all, I've missed being behind the wheel of a NHRA Pro Stock car. So I can say missed because as of about 24 hours ago, I've made a few hits in Erica Ender's brand new, brilliant red Skag Pro Stock car. And I couldn't be more excited and more energized from this chair.
Now, you took the time out starting at the end of 2020. So after having been away for a couple of years, how many runs did it take you to go, okay, I'm comfortable again?
To be honest with you, I mean, just like every season, I'd be guilty in saying it didn't take anything. It's like riding a bike. Not so the case, honestly. Every season, from 1998, my first full season into a pro stock car, I would renew my vows, come say Bradenton in February or Vegas or Houston, somewhere along the way, whatever our first stop was to Pomona. And, ask myself, do I still have this edge? Do I have this urge in my belly to be able to compete at this level again? And it was always answered so quickly. The first burnout in testing was like, oh man, daddy's home. And things felt fantastic. Fast forward, some 23 plus years to yesterday in Tulsa, my first burnout seemed to go off without a hitch, no problems. Our first launch, no problem. Again, brand new car, everything from bumper to bumper, top to bottom. And, obviously prepared by Mark Ingersoll and everyone in the shop at Elite Motorsports. Thing was hitting on all 8 right out of the gate. And, came back and, I think I went high 650 something my second run, and like 106 air in Tulsa, and I was like, wow, that feels fantastic.
Yeah, I wonder, as you race, you get into a rhythm where you start thinking about all these different things, and then when you come back, it's almost like being a beginner all over again. Like you forget all the things that drag you down, and there's beginner's luck, right? I don't want to call it beginner's luck, but there's like a core programming that I think you can take advantage of when you take these breaks. Like we've seen you take these long breaks and then you come back and it's core programming as opposed to all the stuff that happened last week and the week before and the week before.
Right.
Am I just making that up, or is there something to that?
Well, this is definitely the longest hiatus I've taken, being almost 3 years to the day. And to re-answer Alan's question, probably about midway through second gear, the first full run we made, I was like, all right, this feels pretty nice. Burnout 3, 4, 5, run 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 after that were fantastic. But I don't know, Joe. It's interesting. The hiatuses I've taken in the past have been for various reasons, whether in personal life or business and whatnot. So this one was, I've done this for a long time, 20 plus years. And, a big thing that's happened in my life since stepping away at the end of 2020 was the transition of our family business Jegs at the end of 21. So, I found myself with much more elective time on my hands, coming into 21 naturally on the business side, which was fantastic. And then my brothers and I went through the phase of the transition, and now I find myself with a little bit more time on my hands. We still have plenty of businesses going on that we manage and that we run, that take day-to-day management, but a huge void has been left behind with these two subjects in particular. And Richard Freeman and I are great friends. We've been great friends for 20 plus years, and now raced together for the last 4 years. So it came an opportunity where Erica's, I think, been looking to move into a new car a couple of times, and the new car has been shuffled to another teammate here or there along the way. And they just finished this fantastic new RJ race cars, just took delivery of it in St. Louis. And he asked if if I could come out and make some runs in it to reacclimate, and then make some competition runs, because you can do all the testing in the world, but the real test bed is the NHRA Camping World Series tracks and facilities, and next to cars that you're beating your head against with week in and week out. So that was the goal in this mission here, and step 1 of 3 has been well accomplished.
Is this a 1-race deal or a 2-race deal, and could it turn into you back on tour again?
It is, at this point in time, it's a 2-race deal that we've been able to put together to run Erica's new car, and we're just elated to expand our relationship with SCAG. That the group has really done wonders in the NHRA the last couple of years, really since I've stepped away from the sport. So I'm really excited to meet the folks from SCAG and firsthand. I've watched them on TV the last couple of years, and certainly heard a lot of great things and things about how SCAG started, and the amount of foundries that they have, and their customer focus is so much on the customer service side of things with their dealers and their end users. And those are things that I can relate to being in our family business for the last 35, 40 years, or my entire lifetime for that matter. But at this point, again, long-windedly, we're on a 2-race stint to get us through to the end of the 2023 season here. And I'm certainly feeling very excited and would entertain moving forward into 2024. But first things first, let's get through Tulsa. That's a check mark. Let's get to Vegas here in a couple of days and get through that event in Pomona, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the story from NHRA.com. These questions are coming, Jag, right? Like, it's just Freeman. He planted the seed. You know who we're dealing with. This guy's a master. When it comes, our friends at SCAG Power Equipment help make this a reality, along with our supportive partners in our program. Getting runs on the new RJ car before the end of the season is something we wanted to do, etc., and so on. Who knows? Maybe the planets will align and Jeg Jr. can return full time in a Cat's Eye Gold SCAG Power Equipment hot rod in 2024. Freeman's already floating it out there, Jeg.
Well, it's. He is a mastermind, without question, and I've come to really enjoy that more and more over the last couple of decades of working with him. And we threatened that we were going to put a program together someday, and finally did, after about 15 years of working together and talking not every day on the phone, but just about. So I'm sure if he puts his mind to putting something together, we'll have an opportunity to take a peek at. But again, our focus is on Vegas and Pomona, and see if we can't bring another world championship back to Elite Motorsports.
How much racing have you been doing? I know you've hit a couple of the big dollar races and some of the stuff, especially the local things. But how much racing have you been doing?
It's funny. It doesn't sound like a whole lot of racing, but Samantha and I both have probably attended maybe 6 or 7 bracket races, big money bracket races around the country each year, the last couple of years. When you drive 2 cars at each event, and each event's 4 or 5 days long, and you double enter, it's real quick. You're running 40 to 50 races in a 6 or 7 week program. So I haven't done a lot of volume of racing as far as throughout the calendar year, but as far as making runs down the racetrack, I've been fortunate. I've got just an unbelievable 67 Chevy 2 wagon that runs in the high 5s in the 8th mile, and then a great you have, yes, and a great dragster. And we've really enjoyed bracket racing's usually always been my first love. Been guilty of saying that for 20 plus years in the professional ranks, and it's been a fun year. My daughter Carly, who's 8, has been running one of the E Junior Ds that our family had put together. My father put together years ago, and she's had some great success this year. So all 3 of us have been in the winner's circle this year. Most notably, my 50,000 win in St. Louis at the 1st of June was probably my biggest win this year for sure. But a lot of good times and a lot of runs, and I can tell you when I let the clutch out the first run yesterday, I think I was 21 on the tree, and we were, I think, 989 or something at 60 feet. I was like, all right, that felt pretty nice. came back, was minus 001 and went like 982, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, all right. And Troy Jr. was there running his car. They just wanted to make sure everything went straight and let her perfect with it. And so I had a really good benchmark because he's like Mr. Consistency. So feel like I'm right in the middle of the pack right now as far as driving goes.
All right. So let's.
Do you remember I'm sorry, Joe. Do you remember your last race win?
Well, it was 2020 on the NHRA Pro Stock side. It had to be probably late summer. I know I won Indy, which was, I don't know what race they called it at that point in time. I don't know if I won another race after that or not.
No, actually, that's what I was getting at. When you won Indy, and it was the third stop when we did the Indy Championship Series coming out of COVID. But you beat Troy Jr. in the final round, and I just wonder how hungry he is to get a shot getting you back now.
There's no question his time is coming next to Uncle Jeg here. I've really, and I wasn't being corny when I mentioned early on, I have followed probably 90. I've probably missed 3 or 4 runs in the last 3 years of his on NHRA.TV. I'm a proud subscriber, and he and I have dialogue just about every single run that he's made since that point in time. Just giving him moral support, and not that he needs much. He's very solid, one heck of a driver, extremely consistent, which is really important, not only from behind the wheel, but for the crew chiefs and the car setups and whatnot. So again, his time is definitely coming, and I'll be on my best behavior if he's in the other lane. I can promise you that.
So let's size up the competition. You're not here to be a test driver. You're here to win the race. That's what Jeg Coughlin does. And you are injecting yourself into what many believe, I believe, the most competitive pro stock class that maybe has ever existed. There's 23 cars on the entry list, who can't win the race, right? A few of them, more cars than ever before, can win the race. You got 2 5-time champs out there battling for a world championship, Erica and Greg. You are a 5-time champ as well. Racers like Troy, like Dallas Glenn, like Matt Hartford have all elevated their game. You've been watching the whole time. Just assess the category so far. Like, what have you seen that's going on out there, and what do you make of it?
Well, I think you've seen the competitive side of the class naturally with, Elite and KB being the powerhouses on, bringing the talent to the track as far as horsepower and car setups and whatnot. Not everyone uses the services the same way, but I think the point is, right there, you've got, 13, 14, 15 cars, depending on the weekend, that are very well equipped and prepared. Naturally, you've got Chris McGahey and his program and his son that have been hot and cold this year, but look like they're coming on pretty hard. So, right now the pro stock contingent is it's very tight. It's reminiscent. When I first got into pro stock, you could be the number 1 or 2 qualifier in the first session, and by the time you run last pair in the second session, you're trying to bump your way back into the field. It's maybe not quite that cutthroat because the number of cars are just a little bit different, but it's almost that tight. And, how about a show we all witnessed there in Dallas last week? All those 640s, just one after another coming, and, all-time best for the EFI side of things, near all-time bests. But and then what a show that Eric and team put on Sunday with the 40s that they rattled off, and E1, 2, 3, and 4 to bring them the coveted hat and Wally. So the pro stock is tough right now. It's extremely tough. To hop back into the fire is questionable, I would say. But with my love of the class, my love of the sport, and the drive that I have from behind the wheel, looking forward to it.
Realistically, what will you do this weekend to consider it a success? I mean, I think we all figure we're probably going to qualify, but if you make it to the semis, if you make it to the final, is it win or it's not a success? I mean, what are you really looking at getting first time back in the car?
Again, we've got a brand new car that's looks like it's really happy coming out of testing. So hopefully most of the, potential gremlins have been wiped out, yesterday and prior to yesterday and yesterday. I think a successful weekend for us is, a top 8 qualifying effort and, just challenging for round wins and the race win come Sunday. So, and that's a tough feat. As you mentioned, the names mentioned with Hartford and Glenn and all the elite cars and KV, and it's going to be a tough field. But again, I feel very energized. I feel very fortunate to have gotten the call to come out and make this happen. And I've got Troy Jr.'s on the fences and on the ropes every week, signing autographs with the NHRA fans. And, he tells me all the time how much people are asking about me out there. And I certainly do miss that aspect of racing. It's one of the few sports that, our fans can come right up to the pit areas and see the drivers, see the crew chief, see the crew work. And, obviously the NHRA has always done a great job preserving that for our fans. And I'm excited to kind of be back in that limelight of it and enjoying back with the fans.
Speaking of that, there's a big fan fest Thursday night. I wanted to make sure everybody knows about that. I had a couple of people ask me like, "Oh, why aren't they having it this year?" I was like, they're having it. What are you talking about? And then the story dropped on NHRA.com. I think it's one of our best fan fests. I don't know if you're going to that, Jeg, right? Short notice, but I know there will be a ton of drivers.
Yeah, no, that's always a great time. Without question, and a great opportunity for the fans to get so many drivers and riders in one spot. So I'm hoping, trying to rearrange a few things to make it there as well with the other commitments that have all cropped up in this very quick advancing program that we put together.
Quick advancing. That's what we like. Quick advancing. What we're all hoping for. We want to see there on a regular basis, Jeg. Let's just put it out there, right? Like we want to see you back. We want you to be back, and we know how it works. It starts with a couple of burnouts out there this weekend. Alan, any final questions for 5-time Pro Stock World Champion Jeg Coughlin?
No, it's great to see you coming back. I think even if it's just a 2-race cameo, it's a better show when you're a part of it, and the competition level definitely goes up. If you do get the bug and decide you like Vegas, I think I could find you a top dragster for the division race next weekend if you just want to hang around. Just throwing it out there.
Right on. I appreciate that. That's not out of the question either. So thanks again, guys, for having me on the show. I've been a big fan the last couple of years, a couple of years that I've been out, and now I'm looking forward to being on this side of the mic again with you and see if we can make a good splash and have some fun.
It's a great story for the sport. It's a great story for drag racing. Yes. Come back, Jeg. Come back. We'll see you this weekend. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Peace.
The natural Jeg Coughlin Jr. Now the guy's a pro, right? He's like our version of, there are some people that you compare him to, but when he came up through .90 racing, sportsman racing, bracket racing, I told the story of Jeg coming to the 5-day bracket race in the early 90s. And it was like a rock star coming in. It's like, oh man, Jeg and Peter was there too. These guys were heroes. And when he went into pro stock, it was like a bracket racer is going into pro stock. What's going to happen? And he comes out as a 5-time world champ. To have him involved in the sport, even for just 2 races, it is an addition. I'm sure some tickets are going to get sold knowing that Jeg is going to be there.
Yeah, I think so too. And, anytime you've got a name that big that's had a level of success that he has, that is going to be making an appearance, that makes it a better show for all involved. And whoever wins the race is going to feel like they accomplished more because you beat, there was another 5-time champion in the field. Whether you raced him head to head or not, it just makes the field that much tougher, and it makes it that much more special for whoever does get out of there with the trophy. 15
championships between Greg, Erica, and Jeg, though. Come on. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, in pro stock, and the Jeg, of course, has one extra one.
Yes, exactly. One extra one. All right, so let's talk about some of the other categories. Obviously, we've been very pro stock intensive. I do want to tell everybody though about the Fremont Street Experience. This is Thursday night. I feel like it's the best fan fest on the tour. The Stampede of Speed Fan Fest is developing into something that could rival it. But the fact that it's on Fremont Street, you got Jason Logan out there on the mic, blaring out things. We got the video, NHRA themed video that plays on the rooftop. Like, there's a lot going on. There's alcohol everywhere. It's great. The driver autograph session is going to begin at 5:30 p.m. and the whole world is going to be there. John Force and team, Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, everybody's going to be there. The whole world is going to be there. The Pro Mod guys are all going to be there. J.R. Gray and Chris Thorne and Khaled and Justin Bond, they're all going to be there. It's going to be great. That is Thursday night. So anybody that's heading to Vegas, that's your plan for Thursday night. You definitely don't want to miss that. But it's crunch time now, right? Like at the end of Sunday, there will be people who can no longer win the championship. It's you can win it here. Erica won it here, but really we're going to find out who has got a real shot at it, the In-N-Out Burger Finals.
Well, there are 8 win lights left in the season, and the win lights this weekend pay 20 points apiece. The win lights next weekend are 1.5 points. So you need to position yourself this week to have a shot next week. And, if you're leading, obviously that's better than not. But, how big a lead can you build? How safe can you make it before you get into Pomona? Sorry. There's guys and gals coming in here with some momentum right now. Leah's been to the last 2 final rounds, won the last one, comes in here as the point leader, even though it's a small one. But would you rather be 4 points ahead or 4 points behind? Ask Ron Capps. And last year, he won the championship by 3 points. Matt comes in here certainly on quite a roll on the funny car side of things. Gage could potentially, I believe, lock it up here. And I think it's a foregone conclusion that he is going to be the champion, whether he does it here or whether he does it in Pomona. But the nitro battles are really coming down to the wire. And I think the real question in Pro Stock is, can anybody close the gap? Because if Erica leaves 80 or 100 points ahead, could you still mathematically catch her? Sure. When's the last time Erica lost first round? Right. You need to factor those things in. If Erica goes into a position in Pomona where if she wins first round, then she's got everybody locked out. Or, if she picks up a couple of bonus points and wins first round, because I think that's almost a foregone conclusion. So if somebody wants to challenge Erica, they need to cut into that lead this weekend. Whether it's Greg, whether it's Dallas, whether it's Matt, there are a few of them that could do it, but somebody needs to come out. You cannot let Erica win the race in Vegas again, because if you do, then I think it's about time to call the engraver. No matter what the math says, I think it's about time to call the engraver.
Yeah, I feel like the Dallas win was in many ways a backbreaker. I know that Greg is out there with a fast car, but Erica's going to Vegas, and that's a track that she owns. She is the winningest racer there. She's got an 85-point lead, 93 over Dallas, 108 over Hartford. Michael Heiner gave his opinion on the Hear It From Heiner show, which is going to air at 3 p.m. for Patreons, but it is very, very difficult. And the whole shutting off trying to be 16th game doesn't work because there's 23 cars attempting to qualify. That's a recipe for disaster. You got to play it heads up and see what happens, but got to run the race, right? We don't run them on paper. Foregone conclusion or not. Did you happen to see Leah and Matt Hagan last week at all, Alan? You mentioned Leah and that having the points lead is better than not, but 3 drivers, Leah, Doug, and Steve, inside of 1 round. Justin is 108 out. That's like mathematical, super long shot. You need all 3 of those racers to have bad performances this week.
Which isn't going to happen.
All 3 of them. It's very unlikely.
It's not going to happen. If I'm 100 points behind you, I just need you to stub your toe. If I'm 100 points behind you and Galvin and Logan, the chance that all 3 of you stub your toe are pretty remote.
It would be a mathematical anomaly. So let's take it as if those are 3 racers that are all in effect tied, given the 8 rounds that are remaining. Leah seems, in a new place of confidence and happiness and positivity, and the team has gelled, and they're all these champions over there from other teams. Neil, of course, has won championships with the Army car. And, but I don't know. I can't handicap it. My eyes on Torrence, to be very honest. Steve Torrence, this guy, man, who knows how to win here? Who knows how to win here? And the answer is Steve Torrence. He's done it 4 times.
But who knows how to win in Pomona? who's had the success in Pomona, who's gone into Pomona and made all this stuff happen. And I think that's clearly Alan Johnson. So if he is close enough going into Pomona that he's got his destiny in his own hands, I think he's the guy to watch. But I also think that a lot of people are overlooking what Leah and Neil and that whole team has done, because they've had a really good race car all year long, right? They didn't just stumble into the countdown to the championship and then all of a sudden get hot. They've been in the top 5 all year long. And while their resume might not have 14 wins on it, she's had a good car pretty much everywhere she went. We talked about it. I still keep thinking back to the Western Swing. There are a lot of people who go, well, she went through the Western Swing and didn't have any success at all. She had a great car. She didn't have Sunday results, but she had a great car and has had all year. I think Neil and Mike right now are very, very focused on the task at hand, and I think that they're just blocking out all the white noise. They're going to go do what they do. If they win the championship, great, right? But if they finish second or they finish third, I don't think anybody inside that trailer is going to be throwing rocks back and forth at each other. Because if you had told anybody at the beginning of the year, Leah is going into the last 2 races a year as a point leader, what kind of odds do you think he would have got for that? And they believe in themselves even when other people didn't, and that's why they're showing the strength that they have now, and that's why they're in the lead, because they believe in themselves and they're making it happen.
Yeah, very exciting time. Pick your favorite, whoever you're with. You're rooting for a driver that's maybe on the outside of the points. Everybody's got some sort of vested interest. There's someone to root for. Doug, right? Like the Doug Coletta story. This guy, if it goes his way, there's not going to be anybody that's like angry about Doug winning finally. But Steve Torrence said it recently, like deserving is a weird word. You've got to go out and you've got to get it. You've got to earn it, and they got to earn it on the racetrack. So we will see, but just super exciting.
We don't take turns in this business. You've got to go out and get it. And I think, and especially with the 3 cars that are alive, I think there's a legitimate possibility we could have one run for the championship coming up in Pomona. I honestly believe that could happen. You look at last week in Dallas, whoever won that final round was going to be the point leader coming in here. That's how close they all are. If Steve Torrence wins the final in Dallas, he's the point leader coming in here right now. And I really believe that we're set up where we could have a legitimate one-run winner-take-all for the championship. And it's always fun when that happens. At least from where I sit, it's always fun.
Oh, the person who's not having fun should be escorted out of the building immediately. No, it's going to be awesome. Funny car. What they called it Quadzilla on the TV show. I still like Big Four. Cap's 99 out last year. He was 69 out going into the final race. So he can't be thinking, he's out, but he's got to make a move. You got to make a move. You got Hagan with the lead, Tasca 36 back, Height 69 back, and you got Caps 99 back. Those are the drivers that are in actual legit championship contention. But Caps has got to make a move. You can't go into that final race for exactly the same thing. And not how many points you're behind. He was behind 1 driver last year. He's behind 3 drivers that are all the best of the season. So they need to make a move. But these guys have been running each other, so it's possible.
Yeah. It was interesting last week that 3 of the Big Four stumbled early. And that left the door open for Matt to go out there and stretch it out a little bit. And I guarantee you, everybody back there now is thinking, I should have done this. I wish I'd have done that, whatever the scenario is. But they're going to be coming to Vegas, I think, with maybe a little bit different focus that we need to make sure we don't make that mistake early. Matt Hagan, I think, is still, and I've said it before, I really believe he's had the best car throughout the countdown as far as a consistency basis. He got a couple of bad results and came out on the wrong side of a couple of very close races that could have gone the other way very easily. But they've had a really good, really consistent car throughout qualifying and race day. And, even if they were all tied, I would say right now that I still think Matt Hagan's got the car to beat. I'm not saying that Brock and Robert can't beat him. I'm certainly not saying that Tasca can't beat him, but I'm telling you, he's got the car to beat. Somebody needs to show me they can beat him.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing, is this is a setting up 2 races to go, 4 great drivers. One is the back-to-back world champion. Got to get back in it. Backs are against walls. People are trying to seize opportunity. And for those out there who didn't see Leah and Matt, it was a really great interview because, man, Tony Stewart is poised to maybe have a double Nitro championship season, but they're not there yet. We got to run these races and see what happens. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be all-time mega. A couple of questions out there. You mentioned Gage. Gage could lock it up. Matt Smith said, made some comments, I guess, about Vance and Hines crankshafts, whatever. But the did make a rules adjustment that we talked about last week. 5 on the Vance and Hines head, 5 off the monster head. Is that going to make a difference?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think Gage is going to.
Is it going to make a difference? Yes. Is it going to make enough of a difference to bring Gage back to the field? No.
Yeah. It's the year of Gage. That's it. Sometimes people go out there and they just get it done. And we can say, like, Jill is out there, said that Matt Smith said something about Vance and Hines crankshafts. I don't know what it is. I went to his page and I didn't see it, but
he said something in an interview last week. And I think it was really more of a frustration thing than anything, but I don't really think that there's anything there.
Michael Phillips said something a long time ago, and we both like Michael Phillips because of who he is and the kind of guy he is. And sometime a while back, he said something like, take your whooping, right? Like, just take your whooping. And I get it. But in this case, I think it's best for everybody to just take their whooping and go to work in the off season, not say anything silly or say anything that maybe will bring them into to look like you're crying or whining or complaining. Like, they have just put it on everybody this year, man. That's it. Gage has got on that bike and outrun the bike from last year, outrun Eddie, outrun everybody. He's outrun everybody. Don't take away from him in any way. Just to quote Michael Phillips, just take the whooping and go back to work, because it's going to be you doing it in the future. And that's probably what you would want people to do when you're whooping them.
Yeah, you know what? I think if I'm Gage, if I can get in everybody else's head, I'm good with that. If I got a guy that's pulling up the starting line, looking over at me, and he's thinking about anything other than I need to make the best run I can make in my lane, then I'm taking that as an advantage.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's whatever psychological hits you can take. All right, so everybody, that's the deal. Vegas this weekend. I did see on social some interesting conversation on Kyle Rizzoli's page. Brad Plord and many others congratulated him on winning the Stock Eliminator World Championship for the season. Explain why that might be the case, given that there was, not points action this weekend.
Well, they were talking about it a little bit in Dallas, and mathematically he's got it all but locked up. And I'm not sure who it is. I'm not sure if it's Tyler or one of the other drivers that is in like the top 5 or 6 that still has races to claim. And it would have taken a situation, even more Bob Locke than what Bob Locke did last year for somebody to go west and win out. You can't proclaim somebody a champion until it is absolutely, positively, mathematically impossible, no matter how unlikely it is. And my understanding is that whoever the driver was that still could catch him would have needed to go to 2 final rounds and win Vegas, Pomona in order to make it happen. And they didn't enter Las Vegas. So when they don't have that opportunity to come out and make points, then it becomes a mathematical lock. And, I understand, the opportunity to win a championship is one thing, but for somebody that's got a job, for somebody that doesn't have unlimited funds, for somebody that, has already traveled so much this year that they simply can't take 3 weeks off to go do this, then I certainly understand, I'm sure the desire was there, even if realistically it couldn't happen. But if the fact of the matter is I have to win the next 3 races in order to overtake you, and that's the only way I can win the championship, if I don't go to one of the races, then it's over.
Yeah. And well, David Eaton told us earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago, he told me personally, and I relayed it on the air, and I believe it's still to be true, that he's like, man, I've got a business. The business pays for this. The business is booming. I'm working my butt off. I'm the one who does all the work. Like, I can't just leave, because then
David
I stop
Eaton
making
is a
money.
beach bum.
He is a beach bum. Oh man. He said, it's a bummer. It's one of those things that it will never happen. He goes, if I win the Jegs All-Stars, Joe, I'm going to take this trophy, I'm going to mount it to our surfboard, and I'm going to go out and surf with the Jegs All-Star trophy on the front of the surfboard. And I thought, that is the coolest thing ever. And then it didn't happen, right? Like, you got to make it back, David, next year. You got to do it again next year, just so we can see that maybe happen.
Yeah, it's coming down to the wire, and we're going to be talking a lot of scenarios, not just this week in Vegas, but next week in Vegas also. If you're a hardcore sportsman fan, next week in Vegas, I guarantee you there's going to be 700 plus cars that are out there on the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series. It's a regional, so we will have alcohol cars there as well. And there's going to be a lot of championship implications, a lot of stuff up for grabs, and it's always a really hardcore weekend. I know, Joe, how many people come out, they go to the Nationals, and then they spend a couple of days at the SEMA show, and then they come back out to the divisional race, and they, you can take a week's vacation and do just about everything somebody in the car world would want to do if you're drag racing.
Absolutely. Like, just stay there forever, right? Go to the Sphere, look at that thing, check out the Formula One track, and look at everybody in the traffic and how aggravated they are. And then you go to them and tell them, hey, drag racing, we've got our own facility right down the road. Doesn't cause any traffic for you locals. That's what I'm going to be telling everybody all weekend long. Hey, Fuel Tech Pro Mod Championship decided this weekend. Chris Thorne in the lead. I'm looking at the points on NHRA.com, and it's still very in question. You got a couple of racers that got the opportunity. Let's talk about our Pro Mod brethren. Chris Thorne, man, the guy is so good on the starting line, trying to go back to back.
Yeah, Chris Thorne is, he's definitely in a good position. I still question the wisdom of Justin Bond deciding to change race cars once they went into the championship run. He'd had such a good car during the first half of the year, was winning races, looked like he was in control of his own destiny, and then decided to switch cars. He obviously has won more races than I have in a Pro Mod, but I kind of question the wisdom of that, and we'll see what happens when by the time we get in and out of Vegas.
Yeah,
I know that there's going to be eyes literally all over the world watching that one because of the sponsor stuff that from the other side of the world, and the fact that Pro Mod really is the universal category.
Yes. Aaron Stanfield, I believe he just has to take the tree,
show up
to become a Flex Jet Factory Stock Showdown champion. And exciting, right? Exciting to see Doug Gordon and Julie Natas, like these championships that happen. All of a sudden they're locked in. And that's the type of time of year that we are at right now, where it all matters. And then we'll head over to In-N-Out Burger finals. Hey, what do you know about the big 75th birthday party that happened out at Pomona? I had a couple of WFO listeners go out there, 20,000 people, packed grandstands to celebrate the In-N-Out Burger. It's like the only time that thing has been full without pro cars on the track.
I heard a lot of good things about it. I was hoping that this thing would have been released from Painter Prison in time to make it over there, but that just didn't happen. I was a little surprised that I didn't see more on social media or on NHRA.com, but I'm the same way you are. I know some guys that were over there, and everything I heard about it was very, very positive. Obviously 75 is a big milestone, and great to have Lindsay and her company involved so much in NHRA, and great that she decided to use our venue to have their birthday party.
Yeah. And one more thing, and this is like rumor stuff that is out there though, but I'll just float it to you. In the larger context of good news happening, Competition Plus has got their rumor mill. In the rumor mill, they quoted Glenn Cromwell that there, something happening on the big title sponsor front. I know nothing, but boy, I think that would be good news if they had an announcement supposedly coming eventually.
Well, I know that there's a lot of talk, and I know that there's a lot of meetings, and I know that I will not, let's just put it this way, I will not be surprised if an announcement comes out before the end of the year, potentially as early as next week. But from everything I understand, that they are very close, and just want to make sure, as always, right, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and that before they make any kind of official public announcement.
The WFO Cup to be announced.
Is that what it is?
No. Of course not. What are you talking about? Step up, Patreons. Join patreon.com/WFO radio and eventually make the WFO Cup a reality. Any final thoughts, Alan, as we get ready for Vegas, the Nevada Nationals and SEMA?
No, just looking forward to heading up there with all the stuff that's going on, all the extracurricular things. Remember, the Summit ET Finals are going to take place there as well, while, there are teams coming from all over the country. Last week, we did the Jags All-Stars down in Dallas. That was a huge hit. For those who might be curious, and I know that there's a lot of hardcore fans that follow just the pro side and don't follow so much the sportsman side. The Jags All-Stars are NHRA Lucas Oil racers that earn their way to come in and do this. The ET Finals are racers that are just Saturday softball players, for lack of a better term. The guys that go out and run your local track on Saturday night or on Sunday afternoon that don't run in the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series, but they chase the track championship. And then you get invited to go to the division finals. And if you do well enough there, you get invited to come to the ET finals. So I think it's a fascinating deal. I've done the dinner for a number of years, and I'm doing it again this year. The number of times when I stand there and ask all the competitors, these are people that race, right? These are hardcore racers that have made it far enough to be in the running for a national championship, and ask how many have never been to a national event, and it's usually at least half. So it's a huge deal that Summit gets behind to bring these local racers. And, you know, I've used the comparison before. You know, if you're a Sunday softball player, how cool would it be to get invited to go to Yankee Stadium and play the Sunday softball team from the other side of the country, just to be in that arena and be part of that event? And that's what Summit does for the ET racers. Really, really looking forward to that. It's always the competition is always great. And I know that when you're down there doing the Parade of Champions down there, the stories that come out of it are just fascinating. So really looking forward to that as well. And that's just another one of the added value things that happens in Vegas.
You got me excited, Alan. You're right. Like all the things that happen that frankly, I just forget, right? Like, you know, Vegas is done, put it in a little box. You're right. Well, I'm the bracket racer, just like Jeg just said. Like in the end, like what are we all? Like I'm a bracket racer who loves NHRA racing, but as a fan. And that program didn't exist when I was bracket racing, and I would not have qualified, because you've got to win a points position on your team to go to the bracket finals. You got to go to the bracket finals. You got to win the bracket finals, which is a big freaking deal. And then you go out west against all the bracket finals champions, and you got to beat them and win in Vegas. Like that's amazing as an accomplishment. And I'm super excited that we're going to get to call it this weekend. Alan, we'll see you in a few days.
All right, Joe, travel safe. I'm flying out early tomorrow morning, so looking forward to it. Headed to Vegas, and then Pomona.
Vegas, Pomona, and then it's over, baby. It's over. All right. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Alan Reinhart, the voice of the National Hot Rod Association, joins us each week on WFO. And if you do not know that we have a podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, this is the time to go and open up your podcast catcher and type it in, WFO Radio, and hopefully write us a great review, because not everybody can be watching the screen. I know we've got a lot of subscriptions going up on all the different video services which people watch the show on, which is great. People are following and subscribing and liking. We do the show right through the off season. The winter break doesn't mean the end of WFO. We continue with different stuff. We've got our holiday party, which is always fun and very well attended. We got a lot of those in the archive. Very fun. You never know what's going to happen. But we keep this WFO show rolling through the winter break, and super excited about some of the things we're going to have. And Project Pontiac is one of them. And so allow me to tie it all together with what Alan Reinhart just said. And then we're going to get to your comments. I want to hear what you guys think. Who's still got a shot? Like which of the points players in Top Fuel, in Funny Car, in Pro Stock that maybe we counted them out, do you think still has a shot? Like all you got to do is go win 2 races, right? Go win 2 races and get some help. And you never know what's going to happen. Like if you're Matt Hartford, you're 108 out. What do you got to do? Well, you got to win Vegas. If you want to win the championship, you're already going for your best career season as it is. And everybody should run through the tape. To use a runner's analogy, you got to finish strong. You got to run through the tape. You got to, never quit, never give up or give in or any of that. You got to run out. There's 2 races that you can win, and who knows where you will be regardless of where anybody else finishes if you win those 2 races. So that's how you got to do it. So who do you think is maybe being overlooked? Who do you think should get mentioned? You can put it in the live chat, but also put it in the comment section. Those of you watching on YouTube, who is still alive in this championship hope? Or maybe you don't think anyone is still alive. But I want to talk a little bit about Project Pontiac, because Alan Reinhart mentioned all these racers that bracket race in the Summit ET Series and have never been to an NHRA national event. I have always found that to be true. I'll go out. Back in the day, my dad would bring me to the Gator Nationals every year. And so we had the NHRA national event experience. We would come home and, the local bracket racers, they are racers. They're drag racers. They're building their lives around this. And they wouldn't go. And it was always confusing to us because there is so much to learn. Why would you not want to go and learn from the people who do it every single weekend at the highest possible level? And the answers were, all over the place. Like, I'd rather race than watch someone else race. Hard to argue with that. I'd rather race than watch someone else race. I'm saving my money for me to race. I always felt like it was worth paying to watch the Lucas Oil Series or Camping World Series at the time to learn thoughts and processes and methodology, how they learn their car, whatever. Not everybody thinks that way. But as a bracket racer, I always wanted to race at the NHRA level. But this car never had a category that could fit in. And at the time, like Super Street 1090 was a 4/10 pro tree. And to make this 3,300 pound sled react to a 4/10 pro tree was impossible. So we never even bothered. Like, it would have taken a considerable amount of work, a considerable amount of effort just to go run some divisional races. We never did it. We dabbled and it just didn't work out. But when NHRA switched to the 5/10 pro tree and kind of made it a lot easier to react, and now everybody can have, 000. How many reaction times did we see last week in Dallas and Super Street? 001 to 000, 002 to 003. Like, it's all of a sudden one of the toughest categories out there as far as reaction time goes. Everybody can cut a light, and I love it. We're going to resurrect my old bracket car, and we're going to try to make it a .90 car, also a bracket car, and it's called Project Pontiac. And it's really a lesson to everybody out there. Like, if you want to go NHRA racing, which to me, I could just make it a big money bracket car. We thought about making it a pro touring car. We thought about just putting it right back on the street and having a 1978 Pontiac Trans Am and just cutting the 4-link right out of it and just put it, there's year one sells the floorboards and we could just have a street car again. It'd be a really nice street car. No, that's ridiculous. We're on the 5-yard line with this thing. It's something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to try to run Super Street. Well, what about the index? No, I like it. That's the thing. I like that style of racing. It's an extra and extreme challenge. Gary Stinnett doing the engine. We're advancing. Total Seal using the project as a way to talk about the cylinder finish and the cylinder hone and the ring seal. There's a lot going on. People are involved, and we really appreciate it. The folks at Edelbrock are on board now. We are acquiring parts and pieces. It has been amazing to see. So I can go .90 racing. And that's how interesting I think it is. Now, the long-term goals, like when is this thing going to be ready? Remember, it was going to be a rebuild. And now we had to start from scratch with a whole new project. I've got a broken trailer. I've got all of these things. It's an amazing story. And you're going to want to follow along with WFO Radio to stay in touch with all that is going on. Hey, I want to tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The holidays are coming. This is a no-brainer, guys. Send the drag racing skeptic in your life to Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and they will become a fan and they want to support your operation. Send your drag racing fan to Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Courses start at $399. They're amazing. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. If you don't want to go that big, but you still like them, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak was on Camry Caruso's car as an associate sponsor at the Stampede of Speed. I don't think there were more photos taken of any one single car than Camry's car at the track this past weekend. Marvin Rodak. And 817-924-6821 is the number. Call him and order some coffee. I recommend the Stampede of Speed Reserve. It's a blend that he's creating, and it's amazing. You will love it. But he's got all kinds of other stuff as well, and you just got to talk to him about what you like. This guy's a knowledgeable coffee resource. So check him out. And then, of course, samtech.edu. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We always say, start your education at full speed. Brian Massengill was out there at Dallas. Did I talk to him? No. I didn't get to talk to anybody. I didn't get to talk to Michael Heiner. I was just full throttle from start to finish. One thing I can tell you is that the folks at Samtech are also full throttle. If you're looking for a career in motorsport EFI tuning, engine block machining, cylinder heads, CNC programming, endless need for all of those things. And I love to tie it back into the future of our country. You've got to have people who know how to do that stuff. Not everybody can push paper around for a living. You've got to have people who know how to build and make. And that's what machinists are. There should be a nationwide push to recommend our young people to go into these fields in all schools, but I'm promoting samtech.edu. The WFO store is open. All kinds of great gear. If you want to get on board with some WFO swag, it goes on sale from time to time. We'll let you know. Download the app. But let's see what you got to say. Let's see what the comments are out there in the comment section. Big thanks to Jeg for coming on the show, by the way. Such a short notice. Let's see. Billy, are the rules with A-Fuel and Alky uncontested or just out of the spotlight? I never hear about competition equaling rules changes in that class. Well, they made a big change a couple of years back, I think at the beginning of last year. Maybe it was the beginning of this year. I think it was the beginning of last year, that the nitro temperature on the A-Fuel cars was higher by 10 degrees, and that seemed to really bring the blower cars back into the mix. But prior to that, yeah, man, people were upset. You just got to watch Facebook. Go make friends with some alcohol racers on Facebook, and you will see all the chaos. Facebook is where it's all happening, man. All the screaming, all the yelling. And I want to make sure everybody understands. Matt Smith, like I love the guy. I love his gamesmanship. Someone mentioned he's Tricky Ricky's son, and so he's, constantly working the refs, and I think he is. But what's happened this year with Gage, call it whatever it is. It's domination. It's a statistical anomaly. It's whatever it is. But, you can't hold back the tide. You're trying to hold back an ocean coming forward. You're not going to stop them. You just won 2 championships back to back. You've won, 6 total. Next year's a new year. That's all. I think that too much can be a negative. That's all. We're both liars. I don't know what he was talking about there. DSR has done it 4 times. Talking about the nitro double. Yeah, someone put in there, has a nitro double ever happened? And the answer is a whole bunch of times. Brittany says, great show. Thank you, Britt. Great show as always. Hopefully you'll be sharing it then. You got to share the show. Let's see what Jimmy Ryan. I think Justin Ashley's still in it. Justin Ashley could still be in it. But you got to win Vegas. You got to win Vegas or runner up in Vegas and get some help and not runner up to anybody that's in front of you. That's what's tough. If everybody goes out early, if Steve goes out early and Leah goes out early and Doug goes out early, first or second round, and Justin wins, then yeah, he's back in the mix. But you got to win. You got to win out, which is a tough task. That's all. Erica, of course. I think it's too tight to call on Pro Stock. See, I don't know, man. I feel like Erica really is in the catbird seat. That's what you would call it. She is going to be on the show tomorrow, by the way, 12 noon Eastern time. Erica Enders will ask Erica what she thinks. And I know what she's going to say already, because this is a critical time. This is a very difficult time. Michael Heiner talks about it on Hear It From Heiner. You guys are going to love that, by the way. New Patreon show, Hear It From Heiner. Michael Heiner talking about winning the Battle of the Saddle with the Get Biofuel team and his thoughts about crunch time in the championship. Like, who's still in it? But that's for Patreons. If you join the Patreons and you join up for a year, you get a free t-shirt. You get a bunch of great stuff. Dan, I think Chris will take care of that and win his second championship. Talking about Chris Thorne. It's still very close. Still very close. But Chris Thorne, I believe, has got a winning combination, and the guy is so good on the starting line. But you got to run the races. Let's see. I think Justin Ashley will have a good shot to win the championship in Top Fuel. Certainly hope so. Talking about Firebird, go Bird. Yeah, I can't wait to get it out there. Like, this is a thing. Like, this obviously, and this is how I'm here. That race car. My dad wanting to go bracket racing. That's how I end up working for the NHRA in the long scheme. That's how I end up working at a radio station. That's how I end up doing talk radio, learning to communicate for a living and have people give me money to talk. So weird. Brittany Olson, where do you go to drag racing school for motorcycles? Well, Frank Hawley's had a branch of their drag racing school for motorcycles. I don't believe they do that anymore. But Karen Stouffer and Gary have got a program that they run. There are a couple others. I'm having a Halloween party on Saturday. All right. Congratulations. Don't give your address, Jimmy. Great show, Joe. Can you shed any light on Clay's recent DQ from Dallas? No, I cannot. How does Patreon work? Well, you go to patreon.com and you sign up. And then all of a sudden, a whole world of content opens up to you. The following action has been taken against Clay Millican for violating rules pertaining to loose ballast during the NHRA Fall Nationals. Millican was disqualified from the event and fined $5,000. It was enhanced capabilities. The fine will be dedicated to enhancing the capabilities of the safety safari. The fine is appealable. And that is, when did this come out? Yesterday. And so, loose ballast. And to me, like, I don't know any of the details beyond loose ballast. And honestly, to be very honest with you, I just saw that right now. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. But what could it be? I don't know. I'm going to let Clay address that. Clay Millican is a great friend and not afraid to address things. He's got his own media outlets to do so. And so let's see what Clay says. And probably, for all I know, he's already done it. You know, Erica's going to drive that bitch back. She rocks in Vegas. That's the thing. Erica's going to a track that she, I don't want to say literally owns it because Speedway Motorsports owns it, but she is the winningest driver. She has had some of her greatest runs there, greatest successes there, greatest feelings and emotions there. She's rolling in, like chest puffed out, feeling confident with the team. That's tough. That's tough. Jim, I was referring to you and Alan claiming to not know anything about the sponsor that is going to replace Camping World. Yeah, except I didn't even know that Clay Millican had a statement of action against him yesterday. So what do I know? Now, I really stay out of a lot of that. Sometimes it's better to have what they call plausible deniability. Like, I don't know. In fact, in my one, I talked to Bob Fry at the very beginning of this journey to be an NHRA announcer. And one of the things that he told me is sometimes it's better to not know stuff because people will expect you to know or want you to know or think you know. And if you don't know, it's good. And so this is one that I don't know. I'm hoping, though, and we kind of attack it on the Ignition podcast last night. That's audio only for you people that don't necessarily listen to Ignition on a regular basis. You should. There's a lot of drag racing talk. Yes, we talk about the Miami Dolphins and the Eagles. Yes, we talk about the University of Miami Hurricanes. Yes, we talk about Formula One and how Max Verstappen is single-handedly destroying the interest here in the United States of America. And what is the track going to look like in downtown Las Vegas? We talk about all of these things, including our NASCAR Fantasy League, all of it. But to quote the great Matt in Australia, in the end, it's a drag racing show. And so we talk about all of these things. And what I will tell you is this is a big deal. First of all, Competition Plus rumor mill has been right and has been wrong. And who knows, maybe it'll be this week or maybe it'll be next week or maybe it'll be not at all. Like, we just don't know. But I can tell you, I do not know. And I did not send text to people who might know. I'm eager to just lay it all play out. Just let it play out and see what they say. But it's a big deal. The Camping World deal was during the pandemic and widely publicized. Marcus Lemonis reached out on Twitter and offered to partner with the NHRA when our previous partner, they bailed during the pandemic. Everybody remembers that. it was definitely not a leverage moment for anybody, especially the NHRA. Since then, we just got let go. It's the middle of a worldwide pandemic. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Would drag racing even continue? And then, Camping World steps into the breach, and thank goodness that they did. And I will appreciate them forever for what they did in that moment. But now we're in a new moment. We're in a different moment. And the sport of drag racing has, number one, demonstrated, most importantly, I believe, that it can survive something like that. And it did. Not only survive, but thrive. The NHRA of 2023, I believe, is stronger than the NHRA of 2019. It's bigger. It's got bigger television ratings. It's got more people showing up. It's got more race cars. It's got more interest. We got more celebrities out there. The announcers, better, right? Like everything is better. After that tough time, what does not kill you makes you stronger. And it has gotten stronger, and it has gotten better and more interesting and more intriguing and valuable to someone. Who is that going to be? That's the question. Is it going to be motorsports oriented? Is it going to be automotive oriented? Is it going to be non-endemic? Is it going to be a technology company? And I have my wish list. And the wish list is an organization, a company that can also benefit themselves by promoting and growing the sport of drag racing. Like, let's say that, Warren Buffett just decided that he's going to give us, X amount of $1 million a year just as a hobby. Like, it's nice to have the money, but what's the tie-in? And I remember when NASCAR announced Nextel, which became Sprint, and all the technology stuff. And they did a big job of promoting the sport and pushing it out there and increasing the technology and creating systems behind the scenes. That would be great. But whatever, if we're on the 1 yard line and it's about to be announced, somebody knows. Somebody on the inside, you should just text me who it is. I'll just tell everybody right now. Alan says, Jason Line getting back in the seat of a JHG. Yeah, that was discussed a month ago, that Jason is going to be a part of the Bradenton race. Can you imagine Jason Line and Jeg Coughlin back full-time at Elite Motorsports in 2024? Boy, people just their heads exploded. Sorry, Jason. It's all good, Joe. Look, if we're going to get crazy with rumors, man, let's go all the way. Oh, Phil Brown is attacking me about the Eagles beating the Dolphins. That's fine. My Raiders lost to the Bears, 30-12. Lost to the Bears, yeah. Bass Pro coming in as sponsor. Johnny Morris got pulled in by Tony Stewart. That would be great. That would be an interesting sponsorship. I can tell you this. I mean, it's a retail store. I guess you could tie in a bunch of stuff. That would be great if Tony Stewart really has that kind of effect. That would be really great. Retail store. Okay. The crosstabs with hunting and NHRA and outdoorsmanship and all that stuff are through the roof. I've looked at a lot of that stuff. Like, what do we cross with? And I think that's number one, honestly. So it would make a lot of sense, in my opinion. We shall see. Patience, guys. Patience. You don't have to get ahead of everything. Just have a little patience. All right. Appreciate everybody. Big thanks again to all these people, our sponsors who make it possible. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, Rodax, of course, Sam Tech, Total Seal. We've got a new episode of Hear It From Heiner for the Patreons, getting ready to drop at 3 o'clock. We'll be doing an episode of Hidden Horsepower that'll air later on this week in the Total Seal feed. Follow along with that. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, Foggett, Bernie Speed Shop, and Phillips Connect. These guys keep us running here at WFO Radio, and we'll be announcing some new sponsors as well. We got limited spots for those that are out there and interested. and jumping on board with the WFO universe. Super excited to go back racing again, to go to Vegas. I'm going to try to get into the Sphere as well. Day of SEMA, the SEMA show on Tuesday, the big NHRA breakfast on Wednesday. It's going to be very exciting. Our drag racing Australian brothers and sisters had a big weekend this past weekend. 35,000 people sold out the brand new racetrack. Sold it out. Drag racing. Look, we're not the NFL. It's never going to be the type of thing that people who don't really know what they're talking about are talking about. If that makes sense. You know, you go to the water cooler, people are away from their cubicles. They'll talk about the game and nobody knew what the heck was going on, but they'll talk about it. That's not what drag racing is. Drag racing is for people that actually care about it and follow it and pull and root for the people that are in it, both on the track and beyond. So thanks to Alan. Thanks to Jeg. Erica tomorrow. All kinds of content rolling out. Be ready. We're going to Vegas, baby. Vegas. See you there.